Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We are your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
Today we are joined by our esteemed guest, Robert. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good. Where are you from, Robert?
Originally Atlanta, Georgia. Now I live in Northern Virginia.
All right. And when were you first introduced to recovery?
Well, my first meeting was January 19th, 1976 in a food program, Overeaters Anonymous, and it was in a very small church in a very small village in upstate New York, and there were 19 women and me. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven.
Yeah, I bet. And we normally ask how long have you been clean, but since you have many dates, just go ahead and explain all of them.
Okay, well, can I start with family background and go from there?
Well, yeah.
Okay, well, I've got 140 years of addiction in my family that I know personally. 7 generations, all the way. My great-grandmother was alive when I was born. She was very obese. On my father's side, I've got multiple alcoholics. 2 of my 3 aunts were alcoholics. My other aunt married and buried 2 alcoholics. One of my uncles was, my father had 5 brothers, and one of them was the town drunk of a small town in Georgia.
Nice.
And 2 of the others were two of the other 5 were very heavy drinkers. My father was a heavy drinker, was a smoker, and obese. My mother, through her grandmother, was always overweight and everything. So, and it's followed. We've gone forward now 3 more effing generations with nieces, nephews, great nieces, great nephews, and things like that have serious either food problems or drug problems or something going on. Those are the ones I know about. Yeah. And it's just so I come by all this crap honestly. You know?
Yeah.
So
oh yeah.
I'm nature and nurture on all sides. So, like I said, I came into OA. I did great in OA. I lost 60 pounds really quickly. I hit a couple of pink clouds there and had a couple of small relapses, but I did really well in OA for years. Until I moved to Florida in 1984.
Oh yeah.
In my insane first marriage. My first marriage was literally nuts. We moved 23 times in 16 years that we were married, if you can imagine that. All the while I'm thin and beautiful, handsome and wonderful. Yeah. And we're going deeper and deeper into debt. And we were both freelance writers.
Okay.
And we were making really good money for freelance writers. We were making 4 times or 5 times what the average freelance writer were making. But we just couldn't stop spending money, right?
Yeah.
So moved to Florida, had a 3-year relapse on every freaking thing. I started drinking again. I'd stopped drinking in 73 on my own. But I started drinking again. I started putting on weight. The moves got more and more frequent. Instead of a year or so, it was now ended down to months. So finally, we actually, because of a situation that my first wife got herself into, we moved up here to Maryland to be close to her brother. And that's when I got straight again. I got abstinent again down in Florida. It's in summer of 1987. I'll never forget it. I am totally at the bottom. I'm literally at the bottom of the shower in my house I can't afford, rental house I can't afford, driving the car I can't afford, and I am screaming to my higher power, do something, God, just freaking do something. Literally what I heard in my ears, get off your dead ass and go to a meeting.
Yeah.
And of course there was a food meeting down, like a mile than where I lived. Yeah. And I immediately found that, and that's when I got back abstinent. But then some shit hit the fan with my first wife. We had, and her brother lived up here, and near here, as a matter of fact. And we moved to Annapolis in summer of 1988. So I've been in this area a little bit, 31 years this summer. And the marriage just continued to crumble, and we continued to pile more and more debt. When we got here, we were driving a lease Mercedes we couldn't afford. Our debt payments were $1,440 a month. Oh, wow. We were renting a 3-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse, which we couldn't afford. And my ex-wife, soon to become ex-wife, decided she wanted, at the ripe young age of 42, decided she wanted to start riding horses. Something that 12-year-old pubescent girls want to do. She started to spend $1,000 a month riding horses.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
what,
And
$1,000?
$1,000
$1,000?
a month for renting the horses and paying for the feed and all this crap you have to do to ride the horses now.
That's a lot of money nowadays.
Yeah, well, guess how our income, which had been low six figures 2 years before that, guess how our income had plunged because of all this insanity. It plunged to $3,000 a month. So I couldn't even afford it. If I was going to pay my debts, I couldn't even afford to eat. Well, when I moved to this area, I dived back into my OA programs. I did some relationship program, got into a relationship program, but it was clear that this wasn't going to work, and she was not paying attention. So we broke up, and she moved in June of '89. And I was working so many programs. I was sober again. I was working my food program again. I was doing relationship programs and all this kind of stuff. I decided to give it a year between summer of '89 and 1990 to see if it was me, if it was her, it was both of us, or it was my addiction or something else. Well, things did not get better.
Yeah.
It just got, the money got worse. So the next year, true story, my higher power works in very strange ways. I flipped open one of the Sunday magazines that you get in the Sunday paper.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-column page, and I was reading. There was this little 1-column story about this fellowship called DA, Dead Anonymous. And as I'm beginning to read this thing, honest, this is true. A shaft of light came through the window and hit that freaking page on that story. And I said, "Oops." And it said it had meetings in Washington. So I literally started driving an hour or more, at least 2 or 3 times a week, to start working on my dating issues. So I got abstinent I was working. I worked that program really well for 5 years. My debt was $104,000, and I was by myself. I was still making about $35,000 a year, and the payments hadn't gone away, and 6 phone calls a day, 6 or 7 letters in the mail a day, and all this kind of stuff, right? So, one of the most hysterical things that ever happened to me in my recovery was when I downsized in 2002 during my second marriage. I found an unopened box. I opened that box. The entire thing was stuffed with bills.
Wow.
I never opened these bills.
Oh, man.
I had never opened them. I sat there for a whole evening, just opened the bills, laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
Crying and laughing and everything. Threw it all away. Because by then I was in really good shape. I hadn't had any debt for several years, and I hadn't had any debt at all for several years before that. So I had to really do. So the thing to me is, in all these issues, I'm a 12-step fundamentalist. Okay, I cannot recover without working the 12 steps, without living the 12-step real life. I can't do it. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call myself a big book thumper, but I will thump any big book that comes along in any program. I'm going to thump it, and I'm going to work the steps, and I'm going to do my best to live that way of life.
Yeah.
Which I've now, been doing however haphazardly for 43 years.
Yeah.
And so through the early 90s, I did really great. I was working, my food program was great again. This relationship program was helping a lot. I was working on the money program really well, and all that was going down. And I met a really lovely woman, and I'd always wanted to have kids. She had 2 kids, and they're young tweens, kind of tween kids. So I remarried in '93, and so I had some really, really great years as a stepdad, and was really, really, very happy with that. Well, in the middle of this, in 1995, I got my first master's degree, and I was teaching part-time. I was teaching writing part-time at a major university, and I was still freelancing, and I've been freelancing since 1977. I was a newspaper reporter for 5 years, a freelancer for 25 years, and then I worked for the government the last 13 years before I retired. Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
You guys have a long way to go to
We
that.
got a lot.
Yeah. Save every penny. Don't waste any pennies. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
They're going to come in real handy. So in '95, I went into pure arrogance and hubris with my money stuff. I was going to get my graduate degree, and I was going to start $1 million. And in 1 year, I was going to have $1 million consulting firm. I was going to be publishing a newsletter in a particular area where I was an expert. I'd published books in this area, and I was recognized as an expert in this area. And I was going to do all this stuff, right? Well, not.
Yeah.
It was actually an incredible exercise in hubris and arrogance. And so I had a financial backer, I thought, who one April morning, middle of April of 1995, no, 96. This whole mess was 95, 96. So April 96, whenever long that is ago, 23 years. I answered the phone. It's this guy who's my backer and says, I can't back you anymore. And I had $165,000 in contracts.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
to do professional workshops and little mini conventions and things like this for executives from a particular type of company. And I went, oh, okay, good. Now I'd stopped going to DA. I was very rarely doing anything. I walked away thinking I was a hot shot.
Yeah.
Oh, arrogance thing. And I had this unbelievably bad relapse. $165,000 in debt when I had gotten it down from $104,000 to $42,000 in 5 years.
Wow.
Then it went boing to $165,000.
Yeah.
That was bad. So I almost literally crawled back into my DA meeting, one that I'd founded, by the way, with somebody else.
Wow.
And I said, take me back. And they looked at me like, well, we can't throw you out.
Yeah.
We can't keep you out. So if you want to work the program, we're here. They basically were some of my dearest friends who hadn't seen me in over a year or so. And they just said, we can't throw you out, so I guess you're welcome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about this program is the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop fucking up the way you've been fucking up your whole life, right?
Yep.
That's the wonderful thing is they can't tell you you don't belong.
Yep.
If you choose to say you belong, I chose to say I belong in all these programs. So I got back on track with DA, worked really hard, had a number of miracles and blessings from my higher power, and by the December 31st, 1999, I paid off all my debt. I was debt-free. I don't know if you guys know about how DA works, but debt-free in DA means no unsecured debt, no credit cards, no personal debt, no unsecured debt of any kind. In DA, you can, as long as it's secured, you can have a loan. I've got a mortgage and I've got a car payment.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But if I don't pay it, they take it away from me, right?
Yeah.
That's the deal, and how that works. So I haven't had a debt other than a mortgage or a car payment since 1999.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have been since then. I've been to 29 countries on 5 more continents. I only got Australia left to go. I've been to Antarctica, and no debt involved whatsoever. The money was saved up front, prepaid. Everything was taken care of. And along the way, my OA program was fine. Not perfect, but fine. And then, so that was through the 2000s. We got my stepkids through college. We got my stepdaughter and stepson through undergraduate without any debt. We got my stepdaughter through college through grad school without any debt. My stepson chose to go into debt deliberately to get his MBA, but that's his problem.
Yeah.
We said, you don't have to. He could have kept working and
Yeah.
and gone to school, taking 3 years instead of 2 years. But that was his choice. So everything was going fine. We got them through grad school. We got them married and all this kind of stuff. And then kind of stuff just, my second marriage just kind of began to fall apart for a lot of reasons that have everything and nothing to do with my issues that I hadn't come to terms with. She had plenty of her own issues that she didn't want to come to terms with. Like, I think that's been the theme for my relationships is being attracted to women who didn't want to deal with their issues. So that was very. So in my first marriage, that was pretty obvious. What we did was move all the time and screw up.
Yeah.
My second marriage, it was more passive aggressive on both our parts, and that was really sad. What happened after that, what happened with the second marriage, it was basically an empty nest syndrome. We just kind of sat around looking at each other like, now what? And there wasn't any what.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't go to, I've been in just disclaimer, I've been in therapy for all except 2 years since 1986 with 2 different therapists. So my recovery is founded on a lot of different the chair of my recovery is on, first and foremost on its 12 steps.
Yeah.
And the programs. Secondly, on my higher power, which is my own weird creation. I've only been through 6 or 7 higher powers in 43 years, by the way.
That's not bad.
No, I know. My favorite one was the one I went away to my second. I had to go. My second wife chose to stay behind when I left the area for a year to get my second master's, and which is kind of when our marriage began to really show all the fissures and crumble. Began to fall apart. And my favorite higher power was this really, really gorgeous woman who got me through that year when I was alone.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my favorite higher power. I'm kind of transitioning higher powers right now, as a matter of fact, because I need one that's more active, that's more expansive, that's more of a growing kind of higher power. The one I'd had for a number of years has been very defensive, been very boundary-oriented, defending the boundaries kind of thing. So whatever I've needed, I've been able to create it because the programs say, hey, we don't care what your higher power is, just as long as you got one. Now, I know absolutely fundamentally that the programs themselves are the origin of my higher power. I mean, if I'm not working the programs, if I'm not living the 12 steps, if I'm not going to meetings and sponsoring and, giving service like this and doing this kind of stuff, I'm in up shit creek.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, just snap your fingers and I'm in relapse of some sort or the other. So that brings me up to the 2008 period when I was away, 7 and 8. And I'll tell you guys the absolute truth. Since 2008, it's been really rough, okay? Because I botched the divorce in a very bad way. I basically chickened out on talking with my stepkids, who by now they were in their 30s, they were married, or just about. Well, they were both married by then, and they were in their 30s, and I didn't talk to them about it first, and my second wife just hasn't spoken to me since then. since we met for the final divorce decree, for the separation signing, the separation agreement in 2009. She hasn't spoken to me. It would be 10 years ago this summer. And my stepchildren have not spoken to me, and that hit me incredibly hard because I really, really loved them. I was their dad for 15 years.
Yeah.
And everything I said I did. High school, college, marriages, grad school marriages, and the whole thing. I had been there for them and contributed to their financial well-being, made sure they got through school without debt and all these kinds of things. So it really hit me hard. So the past 10 years, and to be very honest, my money program's been great. I did really well and have been very, very smart. I was able to retire about 4 years ago. My food program has been kicked me in the butt. I've been on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And from that. And then one of the things I knew I had to work on my relationships. So I joined Al-Anon in January 2009. That's a little over 10 years. I celebrated my 10th anniversary in Al-Anon. And what Al-Anon has done for me is it really, for the first, it was well, you guys know as well as I do, most of the substance-based programs, you just stop doing what you're doing. You stop drinking, you stop taking drugs, you stop doing something, put the cork in the bottle.
Yeah.
Well, I've got life addictions. I've got behavioral addictions. You think food is not really a substance addiction, it's a behavioral addiction. Because you have to eat 3 freaking times a day.
Yeah.
Or you have to go to the store. You have to live in a society where every freaking commercial on TV is either about stuffing your face, drinking booze, or losing weight, or going to rehab.
Yeah.
I mean, when I retired, I spent 1.5 years watching daytime TV or reading mystery novels.
Yeah.
Right? And it is freaking awful.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is stimulus for some kind of addiction.
Yeah.
Everywhere,
Yeah. Our society's sort of built
It's
on
just
it.
our society, absolutely. Our economy would collapse without addiction.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
the worst addiction of all is, it's caffeine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I was 29 years ago, I wrote a little book as part of a series for a publisher about the evils of nicotine and caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
Nicotine killed both my parents. They both died. They didn't die of obesity or heart disease. They died of lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Because they couldn't stop smoking
Yeah.
for all their lives. My father did a wonderful thing for us, for all 4 of us kids. He used to not smoke his damn cigars. He used to chew the damn things.
Ooh.
And messing around with us when we were kids, he'd take the end of that thing he'd been chewing on and stuff it in our mouths.
Ugh.
Just messing around. If you ever want to get discouraged from smoking or discourage any kids or anything, chew the end of a cigar really, really mushy and stuck it in the kid's face. The kid will never want to look at anything tobacco-like ever again.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was. We just thought it was a game. It was funny, but it was like, oh my God, I'm never going to do this.
Yeah.
And none of the 4 of us, I've got four kids in my family, none of the 4 of us ever smoked.
Mm-hmm.
One of my sisters smoked for a little while, but she quit pretty easily. But, everything else was being reinforced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My parents were very bad with money. We always scraped by,
Mm-hmm.
lower middle class, blue collar workers and things like that. And so I had no role models for money, had no role models for food. Everything was a secret in my family.
Yeah.
So I had no role models for relationships. So nature, nurture, you take your pick, it all works, and that's how you get here, right? So after my second divorce in 2009, and everybody stopped talking to me. It was just like the most incredibly painful.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot of pain. And, I've been through my first divorce, which was more like being liberated than it wasn't painful anymore. I'd already grieved it, and I just wanted the hell out. And when I got out, I just, thank the Lord, I don't have to deal with this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It got rough. It was rough, but it wasn't like my second marriage when I lost my 2 stepkids, whom I really loved dearly. Lost my opportunity to be a grandfather. Since I haven't remarried anybody since then, twice is enough, I promise. But Al-Anon, what Al-Anon has done for me, first of all, it was very instrumental in saving my sanity at that time in 2009, 2010. And second of all, it has taught me being associated with the men in Al-Anon, and because I only go to men's groups. And in OA, I pretty much only go to men's groups in OA. We got some really strong men's groups in both of those in our area here. And they taught me how to be a man, not to be a macho man, but to be a sensitive, empathetic person but also I had to learn how to stand up for myself, because in both of my marriages it was yes dear, yes dear, yes dear. First marriage, we could never say no to each other about anything.
Yeah.
Second marriage, it was yes dear, just because I wanted to have the kids and do all that. And I'm sure both of my exes would disagree with a lot of this, but that's their view, and I got my side of the story. So for the past 10, 11 years, I really had a lot of ups and downs. But the money's been great. I was able to retire, like I said. The relationship steadily got better. I've been in a relationship now for 5 years. It's best ever. She's a wonderful person. She's not a 12-stepper, but she does understand it. She's been incredibly supportive in every way. In 5 years, she's been 100 times more supportive than both of my wives in 35 years.
Wow.
Were. So, and love her dearly. So that's what Al-Anon has done for me. I could not have formed a relationship like that without the relationship program. Yeah. Without that. And the stories I hear in Al-Anon, man, they just blow me away. My stories are like nothing compared to Al-Anon stories. I know guys whose alcoholic wives have died. after years and years of being married and so just suffering, they just threw their hands up. I mean, these guys are sober.
Yeah.
They're not drinkers. They're not drinkers at all, and they had alcoholic wives. Another guy's a triple. He calls himself a triple winner because he's got ACOA, he's got AA, and he's got Al-Anon. I'm a quadruple winner, and so that's something I kind of want to talk a little bit about. Is this multiple addiction thing? It's called, the technical term is cross addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very understudied and underappreciated phenomenon, because in my OA program, I know at least 6 or 7 men who had been years sober, years and years sober, who could not get OA, the food program, and died of heart attacks prematurely.
Yeah.
In their 40s and 50s. 6 friends of mine, at least. Okay? And if you go, I don't know what they do in AA meetings these days. They don't smoke anymore, thank God.
Yeah.
Because it was brutal.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was brutal back in the day when everybody was, it was all meeting long. They still have the coffee. They still have the donuts. They still have caffeine, which is the most common addiction in the entire world. They still smoke cigarettes outside, which is deadly. And they still eat donuts by the dozen, which is over the long term equally deadly, which I can promise.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Obesity is a killer.
Yes.
That's a killer. My brother, he died about 5 years. It'll be 5 years ago this summer. He was over 350 pounds most of his life.
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. And he's shorter than I am. He was about 5'8", 5'9". And he decided, and he had 4 marriages. And among the 4 of us, we've had 12 marriages.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
2 of us have had 2, and the other 2 have had 4.
Wow.
4 each. So yeah. So we come by it honestly.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Really.
Fucking shit. Let me tell you. So my brother decided at the ripe young age of 59 to lose weight, and he did so by starving himself. He lost 150 pounds in 12 months,
Oh no.
despite the fact that he was having many strokes
Yeah, that's
and
not
health
healthy.
issues. And one day he didn't wake up. Right after his 60th birthday, he didn't wake up. And we don't know whether it was a stroke or a heart attack. We just know he didn't wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And frankly, and because he was in his 4th marriage, and his first wife died of lung cancer right after my father died of lung cancer, right after my mother died of lung cancer. In the early 90s. We had a really good 2 years.
Oh God.
When all 3 of them died of lung cancer from smoking, and one after the other within months of each other.
Yeah.
And so he went from that. That just totally freaked him out. He had 2 small kids, and both of those kids today are in their 30s, and one of them's married, but everybody is very, very overweight. It's a real problem, real serious issue there. His other child, one of my nieces, is doing pretty well right now, but she's always been very, very overweight. No drugs, no booze. They know all better than that, but they can't stop the the food thing.
Yeah.
And it's vicious. It is really vicious. And that's what my cycle has been since my second divorce, and separation in 08, divorce in 09, has been this up and down cycle with the food. And that just shows you what a multiple addiction is all about, because something's going to stand up and bite you in the ass. My money has been great. My relationships have been getting better all the time. But any time that some major stressor or some major setback comes along, I will immediately go back to the food without even knowing exactly what I'm doing. I mean, how can I know exactly what I'm doing? I mean, I can recite all these goddamn books by heart. So of course I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it deliberately to hurt myself. See? Because to me, the heart of addiction is self-destruction.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody in the program who didn't have a button that said, I must hurt myself.
Yeah.
And whenever we start doing well, whenever I start doing well, I push the button. And whatever it is, the other thing is it's incredibly subtle, insidious, and deadly, right?
Yeah.
Cunning, baffling, powerful, not even half of it.
Yeah.
It's subtle and insidious,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore even more deadly than the obvious things about being a drunk in the street or overdosing or whatever you do. I mean, this if I don't take care of myself with my food, I'm going to die prematurely of some stupid thing like, diabetes or heart attack or cancer or something.
Yeah.
And I don't intend to do that.
Yeah.
So lately, so the good news is I've been abstinent since last October 15th. Lost 46 pounds. I'm down.
Congratulations.
I had hit my highest weight ever, which really scared the shit out of me. At 236, I'm now 190 as of the
Nice.
other day when I weighed. And then you know why? Because I'm working the program. I'm working the program like I had never worked it before. I hadn't worked it in 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been with my food stuff. I've been what's called a free rider. It's an economic term for somebody who gets the benefit and doesn't pay back for it.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been free riding on my food program for all these decades, and without giving back to that particular program. In my other programs, I've done a lot of service work, and therefore I've gotten a lot of benefit.
Yep.
I've stayed abstinent. I've stayed sober. I've stayed, my relationships have gotten better, and everything works fine because
Yeah.
I've worked those programs and gave a tremendous amount of service. I haven't done that until recently in my food program. And finally I'm doing that because I know this is now, I'm almost 69 and I want to live to be 100.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do that, I got to straighten my act up, especially my health, my fitness, and my food plan, the food I eat. So that's what I've been doing, and so it's working as well as I can work it right now. But the subtleties are always incredible. I have always got to be aware that what the subtlest thing, that the most subtle thing about these diseases is that you will often have nothing but what appears to be good choices, but one of them is not going to keep you, you're just not going to be working the program choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that yesterday. I traveled a lot last week. I was really, really tired, so I took a mental health day instead of doing some work on some of my books and my social media stuff. Right? And I laid in bed all day, slept most of the day, and maybe I needed the rest, but maybe I was fucking up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know because it's so subtle and so insidious. Because I have to be really, really careful about everything that I choose to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's gonna, if it's something, which of these wonderful choices, and pretty much these days all I have is good choices. I mean, when you've got a life that's nothing but good choices, how do you know which one is actually not going to benefit you in the long term versus maybe taking, the short-term gain, short-term pain, long-term gain thing, right? Yesterday was a short-term gain thing. Maybe, I hope. Today, I did some stuff. I'm here doing this, having a great time, doing some service. It's really great. And I hope that it will continue to carry on. But it's just as cunning, baffling, powerful. So one thing I do want to talk about is part of that terrible aftermath of the second divorce. One thing I did do is I was about to hit 50. I knew the big 6-0 was coming, so I decided to distract myself from my grief over losing my stepkids and the second divorce. Decided to do something really, really crazy and climb Kilimanjaro.
Ooh, nice.
I'm wearing the T-shirt.
I know.
You can't see the T-shirt, but
Yeah.
I got the T-shirt on, guys. Sorry, guys and men and women out there in the audience. I've got the Kilimanjaro T-shirt and the maps on the back.
Wow.
And so I worked out for 18 months, 2 trainers, danced. I love to dance, so I danced a lot. I jogged a lot. I climbed. I went out to Colorado and did 13,000 just to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And I actually made it to the top of Kilimanjaro on my own 2 feet.
Wow.
But,
Ooh.
and this is bizarre, you'll never guess how many guys, it took 8 white affluent Americans to get to the top of that mountain. How many tough guys, local tough guys it took? Take a guess. Just pick a number.
How many actually like made it to the top?
No, how many tough guys, local tough guys, it took to get us white, rich Americans
Oh, to the
Gotta,
top?
To the
gotta
top.
be 40.
Yeah, probably.
5 apiece.
63.
Wow.
Really?
Most people guess 5, 10. You're really close. You're the
Me-
closest ever.
Yeah, I figured about five
Yeah,
apiece.
yeah. 63. Now,
Wow.
what I learned growing up on, I was a son of a bitch on going up there. See, the altitude sickness hit me with basically irritability and like couldn't sleep, had insomnia. I was only getting about 2 hours of sleep a night.
Wow.
And I'm burning 7,000 calories a day. And going up this in altitude is just, we're losing air, we're losing, gaining altitude, the whole thing. And my expression of it was I was just getting really, really exhausted and obnoxious. All my character defects just exploded on that mountain.
Wow.
I ended up spending most of my time making amends and apologizing and pissing the other 7 people in my group off. But the leader of that group, he should have sent me down that mountain because I was disturbing the peace and harmony of the group. He should have sent me down the mountain. But he showed me and taught me one of the greatest lessons I've ever been taught, and that was the lesson of compassion. Compassion on someone, not just this sympathy. Oh, poor Robert. Oh, that's crap.
Yeah.
This was active, living compassion. When I really screwed up one morning, and he took me and he, in front of everybody that night, he said, "Robert, give your pack to H, or you're going down the mountain." And I was humiliated, embarrassed, totally, but I was screwed up. I mean, been screwing up for days.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, my goal here is to get to the top of the mountain. Fine. And I gave my pack to this guy named H, H.J.'s, and by his compassion, I made it to the top of that mountain on my own 2 feet. And that's all I will ever claim. I was treated with enormous compassion by these people. All Tanzanians, by the way. By the way, Kilimanjaro was in Tanzania, not Kenya. It really pisses the Tanzanians off that Kenya has the big tourist picture of it. It's not in Kenya at all. There's not 1 inch of Kilimanjaro in Kenya. It's in Tanzania. Then the rest of that trip, I hurt my feet going down because I got arrogant again. And I really crammed the crap out of my feet going down.
Yeah.
And I could not walk. I made the mistake of not remembering to bring any tennis shoes to walk around camp, right? And all I had was my big heavy boots, and I'd crammed my feet. They were swollen. The boots were like bursting off my feet,
Yeah.
And I had to keep them on because I couldn't.
Yeah,
Unless I was in my tent, I had to keep my heavy boots on my swollen, crammed up feet. Well, I had 5 mortality moments. The biggest one and the last one was our last camp, right? 7:30 in the morning, I wake up and I'm going to literally stagger to where they were fixing breakfast. And the guys at this camp, wait, come here, we got something to show you, right? So I walk over, and there, the ashes of our campfire from the night before, is this freaking lion prints that are as big as my hands.
Oh, wow.
And I said, wait a minute. They said, yeah, we're in the middle of a lion pride. And I said, do we have any guns? Oh, no, we don't need any guns. Now, I'd been to Africa before. They had guns.
Yeah.
They had 2 30-30s before. I said, we don't have any guns? And I said, there's an elephant herd over there that really doesn't like us because they pushed down a tree across the road.
Nice.
That had done that deliberately.
Oh, I'm sure.
There was a herd of 200, 1,500-pound, mean, ugly, stupid Cape buffalo on the other side of the creek.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous, incredibly dangerous. And we're in the middle of a lion pride. And I said, we don't have any guns, and I can't run, much less hardly walk.
Yeah, you're the first to go.
You're
the weak one in the herd.
You know the joke, right? You don't have to be faster than you, right?
Yeah,
I was the you.
Yeah.
I was fucking lion bait.
Yeah.
Now, that's when I learned I was going to die. That was my mortality moment. So you learn these things, you know? And so I know I'm going to die, but therefore I got to do the best I can between now and then.
Yeah.
It's just how you die.
Yeah.
It's just how you go and it's not what you have. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
It's not what you have. It's what you've done to leave the real legacy you have to leave behind, especially for some, for addicts, is what do we do for recovery and in service to others?
Yes.
What do we leave behind
Absolutely.
in service that we have done to help other people recover or help strengthen the programs? Or, so it can be money, it can be service, it can be sponsorship, it can be anything that you can do, even showing up to a meeting when there's a small meeting and you may be the only person in the room. I've done that dozens of times.
Yeah.
Starting new meetings and things like that. I've been the only person there. Well, my higher power's there. I'm there. I got a book. I have a meeting.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's all about. Keeping the doors open for the next suffering addict who comes in the door.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that, we're not really leaving anything behind. So that's what I'm trying to devote myself to now, is doing whatever service I can do for as long as I get my higher power gives me to carry the message and keep pushing, keep helping people recover, because as we're all more than well aware, that our society is just one big, enormous freaking addiction.
Yeah.
The economy runs on it.
Oh yeah.
The business, everything runs on it. It's being addicted to something, whether it's nicotine, caffeine, food, booze, drugs, TV, social media, you name it. Our society depends on us being addicted to it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And so what do? We can do the best we can one day at a time to live the 12 steps, role model, and be of service to those who come in and who seriously want help.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's
All
awesome.
right.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah, man.
I like
That was
that.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you want to start questions, Eric? Or do you?
I have so many questions.
All right, I'm gonna start then.
Many questions.
I'm gonna start then.
You're gonna start?
Yep.
Are you sure?
I'm taking it. Yep.
You know?
Yep. Okay, so what were like the precipitating factors? Like, what led to you first going to OA back
Okay.
in, what was that, 76?
76.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I had. I played football in high school. At about 180, and I had really pretty much stopped doing anything in college. And after that, I was a newspaper reporter. If you want to be stressed out, be a newspaper reporter.
Oh yeah.
It is the most incredibly stressful thing you can possibly do.
Did you ever get to yell "Stop the presses"?
Pretty close, but not really.
Damn it.
Yeah, I never yelled "Stop the presses." I said, hold the paper up if something's come up.
Yeah.
And so no, seriously, I was so stressed out. I've been just made a bureau chief, and I had no training, no experience in being a supervisor. And now I'm supervising 5 reporters, a photographer, and an assistant, right? And I'm totally freaked out. And there's all these issues going on with my first wife and all this stuff. So I just started eating, and I went from high 190s, low 200s, maybe around 200 in there, to 222 very fast, because as a reporter, all I did all day was run around town, right? This little town I was covering. So I got to stop at the best Italian bakeries,
Oh yeah.
which had wonderful coffee and pastries, 6 or 7, 8 times a day. And then this is true too, another blessing. Just before Christmas of 75, I tripped in one of our competing newspapers. There was an article about OA in this weekly newspaper, and I saved it because I was just freaking out, desperate.
Yeah.
And then Christmas, everything just got worse and worse, and I just kept, I was just freaked out, and I said, I got to do something. Now, I tried some of the commercial weight loss stuff, and that was just humiliating, just god-awful humiliating, those other ones. And so I decided to go down to this, I worked on Sundays from 2 until about midnight. I decided to get up early, like at 7 in the morning, and drive down to a 9 o'clock meeting at that little church, little white church in a little village, and go to this meeting and find out what happened. And even though they were all women, I heard their stories, and I said, that's me.
Yeah.
That was it. Because I had done nothing my entire life but eat to feel good.
Yeah.
Eat to quell my anxiety and my fears and all this kind of stuff. My father was a rageaholic.
Yeah.
He was incredibly demanding. I was the third child, first son, so all his expectations and all the stuff that he'd never done in his entire life got dumped on my shoulders. And that's no fun.
Yeah.
And I never had any help to deal with it. or really dealt with it. And amongst all these pressures and I was just freaking out. So OA literally, saved my sanity then.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I did really well in OA for a number of years after that. So
All right.
that's how it started.
Cool. So I guess, do I want to go with OA or DA? So many questions about fellowships. So I guess let's talk about relapsing on food. And kind of what is that process? Because I'm guessing a lot of it's habit, right? And it's just forming new habits and, making sure that your routine doesn't kind of change. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just kind of approaching it like I would if I were to go on like something like that. But like when you're losing control with food, is that getting like, an extra, I don't know, let's say like an extra, maybe going out and getting some ice cream and then that turns into like stopping back on the way home and getting fries or something like that. Like how does that process start and then what happens?
Well, let's go back and get rid of the word habit.
Okay.
It's an addiction, remember?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I think there's, I don't know.
There's a sequence.
Yes.
There's a relapse sequence.
Mm-hmm.
The food, just like there is, and it's probably the same one with booze. I relapsed on booze, and that was the beginning with the beer and a glass of wine here and a glass of wine there, and suddenly I'm drinking heavily again.
Mm-hmm.
With food, with me, it's about quelling the anxiety, and it doesn't matter the kind of food.
Yeah.
I mean, my last relapse between last October was nothing but healthy food. I haven't had, I jokingly say I'm on a 3B food plan: no bread, no booze, no bonbons. Right? There was no bread, no booze, and no bonbons involved in my relapse last year. I just ate way too much really good food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was because I was it was anxiety that I hadn't dealt with that I was quelling, and once it gets started, it just takes over. And I knew exactly what I was doing. I'm sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a meeting tonight. I could do that. I could call into the men's meeting. Sure. Well, fuck it."
Yeah.
And those 2 months, the only time I left my condo was to go to the store and buy more food. I mean, I just sat there and read and watched TV, and baseball season was on and all that stuff, and I just did, and I'm fully conscious by now, of course, of exactly what I was doing, and doing it purely to hurt myself for whatever. And one of the big things that drives me that wants to drive me, or is really self-destructive for me, is grief.
Yeah.
See, the whole thing of, if you tie them all together, any kind of major grief is a major trigger for me. I've had a lot of grief in my life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any better as you get older, guys.
Yeah.
It just is everywhere. Everybody's freaking dying all around you, and you just we're getting really sick. 2 weeks ago, a really dear cousin of mine passed away from cancer. Right? She was a cousin-in-law. She'd been married to one of my male cousins. This week I found out that a good friend's brother died unexpectedly. And you get to this age, it's just freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
And I seriously have to find healthier ways to grieve.
Yeah.
Because it puts, because all I want to do is stuff that pain down.
Yeah.
And the best way to do, I don't do food. Money doesn't do that with me. Relationships doesn't do that. Nothing does that for me now with food. And it's my primary.
Yeah.
It's my go-to.
Yeah.
And so any major huge stress topped with some grief, and I'm ready to go. This week there was something when one of my family members, I went out to Ohio to a family thing, and one of my family members out there had put on a tremendous amount of weight since Christmas. I mean, it's enormity. I mean, it's just awful.
Yeah.
How much weight this person has put on since that time. And then I came home and found out one of the dearest places in my life, Notre Dame, had burned down.
Yeah.
And I had three of the best moments in both of my marriages, two of them in my first marriage and once in my second marriage, had taken place at Notre Dame. And there was, so I was grieving and upset about my relative, Notre Dame, and on top of that, I found these other people had passed away, and I'm going, oh, fuck. And so I took a mental health day yesterday.
Yeah.
I said, okay, don't overeat because you're feeling this way. If you need to crawl into bed and sleep, go into bed and rest because you're exhausted. You're worn out from all this stuff. And so, was it a good decision? I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is I didn't overeat.
Yeah.
That's what counts, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't overeaten today, so that's what counts. 24 hours at a time. So with me, it's really about the grief is always a trigger, and I've got to be very, very careful about anything like that that's going to cause me to feel some kind of real deep emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. Okay. How did your various addictions? How did they manifest into your relationships?
Oh my God! My first marriage, we just fought like cats and dogs all the time. Even when I was doing great in my first program, my food program, we just fought. It was miserable. But on the surface, we were the absolutely perfect couple. Out on our facade was the absolutely perfect yuppie couple of the day. I was buying my clothes at Barney's, Fifth Avenue, and we were members of this highfalutin church in New York. We lived in New York and all this kind of stuff. So. But behind the scenes, we were just all the time at each other. And if the stress got too much, we moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whenever, and it didn't matter what kind of stress it was. One of the worst moves we made was the stress of being successful. We decided we had the most incredibly wonderful apartment in New York. We faced the Hudson. We had a view of the Hudson River from Midtown.
Yeah.
And when the sun went down, our entire apartment lit up like we were part of the sun. It was just glorious. And so we moved to a frickin' Darien, Connecticut, into an old house, and you could see like 3 inches between the ancient floorboards down to the frickin' basement, right?
What? Why?
Why? Because my ex wanted to be somebody. And I went, okay, that's good, let's go do that, do. And we did, and so, we were being incredibly successful. We go do this stupid thing, waste all this money. Our oil bill, this is the early early 1980s. Our oil bill was $750 a month that winter.
Good God.
Yeah, that was what we were paying for rent in New York, right? We had moved to save money.
Yeah.
Wow.
So success is a stressor. It doesn't matter. Failure is it doesn't matter. Just as long as it was, and we would just fight like cats and dogs. We made stupid mistake after stupid mistake that was always about trying to be somebody.
Yeah.
Status and
sort of ego.
Yeah. Her ego and my lack of ego, my unwillingness to say, hey, that's a really stupid idea. We're not going to do that. Okay, let's go do that, dear.
Yeah.
Yes, dear. And that went on for 16 years. So, and it led to, like I said, an incredible amount of debt.
Yeah.
Incredible trouble that we had. So,
how did they manifest in like the second marriage at all? Like, how did any addictive behaviors or like character defects? How did they manifest into like the second marriage?
In the second marriage, that was more the relationship thing. I had the DA relapse when I got that arrogance about being, doing this, getting my first master's and going to consulting firm. That was probably the biggest one in the first marriage. I'm trying to think of what happened as we went on there. Really, it was pretty typical, people with kids in high school and college and everything, just being busy. We didn't really notice what was going on with us. We were just too busy doing stuff with and for the kids and enjoy. We were traveling a lot too. I did a lot of my traveling with her. We started traveling in '97 and didn't stop. We traveled all over. So we traveled a lot. That took a lot of me. I think that was one of our pressure valves was traveling for about three weeks every summer.
Nice.
really cool places.
Oh yeah.
And spending the rest of the next year planning to go to the next fabulous place. I have trips of a lifetime about every other year. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what you should do.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I've had at least 25 or 26 trips of a lifetime. So that's one of the things money recovery does for you, is enables you to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So that one was really just kind of erosion by
Just
passive aggressive stuff, and because I was really working my programs really well then, and she just wouldn't go. I wanted to, but we had communication issues. We had bedroom issues and all this kind of stuff, and she just wouldn't go to. She just wouldn't stay in therapy. She just would not go. She would twice in 15 years, she went to 3 sessions and then said, "I'm not going back."
Huh.
I said, "Well, I am."
Yeah.
And when someone refuses to, come to grips with their own issues and thinks I don't want to look at the past, I want to look toward the future. And she's got unresolved issues because you've heard her story.
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah, and so what can you do, And it got to the point where I was really doing well, and she just was not coming along, and just passive resistance. So, and all those, like I said, I was away for a year, and that just split the fissures wide open.
Yeah.
So, but it was not pretty, and I made some serious mistakes. So.
Okay.
Back to Eric.
So being a part of multiple fellowships,
Yeah.
something that I know David and I have realized, at least with steps and with language, there is a difference between different fellowships.
A little bit,
and
yeah.
the language, and I know with the fellowship that we're in and with other fellowships, like step 1 and step 3 are kind of, there's different, what people take away from those steps in our fellowship is different than the way
I was
people
like, what
take
the fuck
away
are you
from
going
other.
for here?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I know.
like, we've noticed that people take away something from the step in one fellowship different than the other.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just from talking to a bunch of people, it's just something we've picked up on. So I'm guessing, like, the question is, like, how do the steps differ in the fellowships that you are in?
Actually, it's more the tools that differ than the steps.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. How does it?
I mean, we just change food for alcohol, dating for alcohol, relationships for. I mean, Al-Anon still keeps the alcohol part.
Yeah.
And then just alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. So we the big difference is in the tools, because the difference is in behavioral versus substance addictions, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, and who are cross addicts, multiple addicts, don't understand, and why they don't recognize that they have another addiction. Is this spending money and eating food or behavioral?
Yeah.
Alcohol and
Well,
drugs
food is
and opioids.
sort of like a substance.
It's a real.
It's a fine
it's a very
line.
bad
It's
hybrid.
really
is what
like-
it is.
yeah.
It's a very, very dangerous hybrid.
I mean,
it's a sneaky one
When
for
you
sure.
when you eat to relieve anxiety, are you not getting an endorphin rush?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. Oh,
Eating?
yeah.
And I mean, that's releasing a
Absolutely.
chemical
That's
into
what
your
all of them
brain,
are.
right?
Especially if it's something sugary and sweet, you're getting that you're hitting that pleasure center for
or even
sure.
if it's not, as long as it's fatty.
Oh yeah.
it's-
Oh fucking bacon. Oh yeah.
Oh no, I don't do bacon anymore. I do seeds.
Seeds?
Seeds, yeah. Seeds are really fatty.
Do they have bacon flavored seeds?
I'm sure they do. If you want bacon, see, there you can start Baconators Anonymous. How about that?
Oh
Bacon Eaters BEA. We've got a new program right here.
It will be a tremendous.
First meeting next week.
It'll be a tremendous failure.
Yeah.
So, I guess the way
No,
that
no. So let me
Yeah.
finish. This is the essence of the difference. Is
Uh-huh.
the tools. OA, you have a food plan. You have a so you get the food plan either working with a nutritionist, professionals, or with a sponsor.
Yeah.
You do that. You can have you need an action plan to around that. So those are very different
Yeah.
than in AA. AA, you just bam work the
Yeah.
steps, give service, and you keep trucking along.
Yep.
DA, we have what are called pressure relief groups, where a person who's seriously in trouble sits down with a man and a woman who've got time and experience in recovery in DA, in what's called a pressure relief meeting,
okay.
and that develops a spending plan over time, maybe over time, develops a spending plan and an action plan to work toward not only just getting you out of debt, but learning to live your life and learning that you are not your debt. learning that you have that you are allowed to put your needs first. That was the thing that blew me away about DA. What the fuck? I'm allowed to put my needs first instead of paying off my creditors? What kind of a schmuck am I? You know, I mean, I'm what kind of deadbeat am I if I don't pay my creditors first? For God's sakes, well, I'm not. And so I was literally at first and for years in that program, I was saying $5, $20 a month, whatever I could afford after I put my needs first.
Yeah.
And that included a small savings account.
So it was prioritizing your debt.
Yeah, prioritizing the debt and putting it where it properly belonged instead of making it my entire life. And also having entertainment in my life. I mean, my first press relief group, my two people, said I was spending like $20 a month on entertainment. I was going dancing to a DJ dance every Friday night for $5 and drinking their order for free and not leaving a tip, right?
Yeah.
Well, my first meeting, they said, you've got to spend at least $75 a month on your on entertainment, enjoyment. You know, go to movies, do something, have fun. And I went, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
I'm using these are quotes I'll never forget. I can't do that. They'll kill me. You know, my creditors are going to murder me. They said, sit down, shut up, and do it, or it's not going to work. And as soon as I started having more fun, I started getting more business because I was still freelancing. I started making more money. I was happier.
Yeah.
Good things started happening. You know, so it's not a deprivation program. It's a prosperity program. OA is not a deprivation program. You know, you're not giving up the foods that you just can't live without. I talk to people about being in OA, and they say, oh my God, I couldn't live without bread. I said, I don't tell them this, but I said, how fucking pathetic is that?
Yeah.
You know, if you can't live without some, you know, that means you're a serious addict if you can't live without, you know, pastry, for God's sakes. It isn't that big a sacrifice. I mean, I've been in some really shitty countries where they would love to have a piece of, you know, some seeds and a piece of bread. Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in some really bad places, and that you know, really, really poor places are not bad, but they're just incredibly poor. And that's the essence of it, is what is doing healthy things for yourself in a very structured way, and in those two quote unquote quasi behavioral programs that you don't have to do in the substance based programs. I mean, you have to change your behaviors, you have to change your habits in all of them, but we have different tools and very structured ways of doing it.
Interesting. You just said something that I really liked, and I completely forgot it already. They're not how they weren't deprivation programs or prosperity
like that
programs.
Yeah, they're prosperity programs.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
This is not. None of this is about deprivation. This is about a much more wonderful way of life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, your guys your lives are a whole lot better than they were, right?
Oh hell yeah, and
exactly. Well, mine is too.
And I think, like, especially with we deal with mostly like drug addicts in our fellowships. So like the biggest thing like that is a misconception, and for newcomers is like they're going to deprive themselves of fun.
Right.
Like they don't understand how am I going to have fun without drugs? How am I going to have fun without alcohol?
Right.
And just like you said, it's a prosperity. It's a different type of fun.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Me and Eric and I are definitely now semi-board game addicts.
For a little bit, yeah.
It got bad for a while. It was
It's slowing down right now.
It was unmanageable. Yeah, it slowed down. We've gotten busy. But
It wasn't an addiction if it became manageable on your own. So.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, during winter when we were sort of sheltered indoors, it got bad. It got bad. It got rough. There were a lot of fights. It was what it was.
You guys are just taking it too seriously. It's just a game.
It's not just a game. It's not just a game. All right. Ooh, I'm hungry. What would you say, like, throughout your life, what is your most glaring character defect?
Glaring is arrogance covering up fear.
Ooh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I can be pretty much a know-it-all and arrogant. I think arrogance is my worst right now. But it's all over. It's all just covering up fear.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always a very anxious kid. I was always, growing up, see, I was always the smartest, biggest, tallest kid in class, boy in class. And that was all the way through elementary school, even into 8th grade. And, I've been made, all the usual taunts and being making fun of and all that kind of stuff I was. And there was my father put a huge amount of pressure on me to be a all-star baseball player. But when you're 12 years old and you only weigh 190 pounds and you can't hit, you can't run, you can field okay, but you can't get to the ball because you're too slow.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a really good baseball player. And the trauma was so bad with my father that my feet broke out in eczema. And when I was 13 and a half-ish, just beginning of the 9th grade, and I literally could not walk on my feet for months.
Wow.
Because I did not want to play baseball, and I deliberately, subconsciously, made my feet so bad that I could not play.
Yeah.
And that's how crazy that's kind of stress I was feeling, because that's all stress related.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or not, skin disease or inflammations are terrible unless it's bacterial or viral. It's all inflammation related to stress and diet.
Yeah.
It's all rashes are. For example, when my last relapse was over and I started really taking good care of myself, I switched my food plan from. I used to eat a lot of acid foods, oranges, strawberries, blackberries, all that really wonderful stuff, and I went to all alkaline. And my skin cleared up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
My skin looks better now than I have since I was a kid. Since I hit puberty when I was 13, because I just stopped eating so much acid.
Yeah.
And I said, and am I missing anything really? No, I eat lots of lovely, wonderful, tasty vegetables and fruits. Blueberries. I get to eat blueberries every day.
I love blueberries.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, so blueberries, grapes, apples, peaches. I'll trade that for strawberries and oranges. What the deal,
I need my strawberries though. I'm not saying I can't live without them. But
yeah, I know. That's the deal.
You gotta pepper them in.
Yeah,
sure.
you gotta kind of do that. But that's what you do. Is you just say, okay, there's a better way of living here. And my God, what would I rather have? Really wonderful, clean, clear skin, or scratch and itch and break out, be broken out all the time.
Yeah. Blueberries are
And
some
I
of
did that
the
for
best
60
friggin' fruits.
I mean, that 13 minus 56 years, 55 years. I live that way.
Yeah.
I feel a whole lot better now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do I miss anything? Well, yeah. What the heck?
Yeah.
So.
Recovery is sacrifice. What else you got, Eric?
No, I don't believe in that at all, by the way. I don't believe recovery is sacrifice in the least.
Really?
Absolutely. Just like sacrifice means deprivation.
Yeah.
Recovery is just changing the way you do things. If I do it in a better way, it's going to make you healthier.
Yeah.
No sacrifice involved at all. How the hell, why do I want to, do you think it was a sacrifice for you to stop taking drugs?
No.
Okay. Asking recovering alcohol, it was a sacrifice to stop drinking. I don't think it's a sacrifice for me to give up pastries and sugar and bullshit that's going to, make me fat and crazy.
Yeah.
I don't need credit cards.
Yeah.
That's just if you want to live in if you have a bunch of credit cards, all you're doing is living in terror all the time, right? Paying the bills. And juggling one against the other. If you're really if you're much like I was, I had 9 credit cards and 2 bank loans, plus a whole page and a half of personal stuff.
Yeah.
Who wants to live like that?
Yeah.
That's living in fear. And so there's no sacrifice there, and I haven't sacrificed anything. I've gained more than I'll ever have thought about giving up. So
yeah. What else you got, Eric?
I'm vegan, so I kind of agree with him. So
I'm more and more vegan, by the way. So.
Yeah. I guess sticking with stress, because I have a lot of stress. I'm definitely a workaholic.
No.
So
you're not stressed, Eric.
Yeah, right. But sticking with stress and kind of how you were just mentioning the eczema and all of that, how do you process the stress? Because you're not going to the food. So is it, what's your process?
Well, I'm a workaholic myself. Not as bad as I used to be, but I have my, I'll get to one of the things I'm working on my books and things, so I'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So I find something really positive to do. I work my programs sometimes, not perfectly, not all the time. The main thing though is gratitudes.
Mm-hmm.
Is just learning to be, and I have learned to be, and doing my best to be grateful for little things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've learned to just driving around. Like I was driving up here from Northern Virginia, and the trees are just unbelievably gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's the red buds are out, the dogwoods are blooming, all the different shades of green. As the leaves are coming out on different trees at different times. It is glorious. And so, most people put their blinders on and rush home from work or rush to work and don't even freaking notice this glorious stuff going on around them. And so I do my best to be grateful for the little things, every day. I look out my window. I've got a lot of windows in my condo with the south. It faces south, and there's some glorious trees outside. And there's I get the sun crosses all day long.
Nice.
So I get these wonderful skies and things. You just be grateful for the little things. That's when I really turn that stress off the best.
Yeah.
I'm not a big meditator. I exercise. Like today, I went down to the gym in my condo, and did some stretches and stuff because my back was hurting a little bit, so I needed to go down and do some stretches. That made me feel a lot better. So exercise, gratitude, even doing some positive work, doing something positive, doing service, whatever like that. I mean, I know how to meditate. I know how to do biofeedback. I learned all that, and that's nice.
Yeah.
I'd just rather be doing something. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I totally hear you.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So you have to pick one.
Okay.
What is your favorite step?
My favorite step.
You can only pick one.
11.
11. Nice.
Because that's the one where I get to ask my higher power. I pray only for knowledge of my higher power's will for me and the power to carry that out.
Yeah.
So instead of rattling off a zillion prayers for so forth and so on for this person and that person and myself and all these other kinds of things, I just can do that. Say, okay, wake up in the morning, okay, God, this is my plan for the day. If you don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
And I go about my business, and it usually works out that way. And usually, most days, my higher power changes it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
or I'll start one direction and something pops up and I end up going in another direction.
Oh yeah.
So like today, I thought I was going to get stuck on the expressways for 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then instead, the little GPS woman or whatever the hell she is just said, "Oh, go this way instead." And I went the back way and through the trees and.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful the way you came from.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I know exactly the way you came.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It's really nice.
So was that better than sitting on the expressways for 2 hours back to back? Oh my God!
Yeah.
So
I just did that last weekend coming home from South Carolina. And
oh my God!
Northern Virginia traffic is a killer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so is Southern Maryland traffic.
Yeah.
So
it's just a clusterfuck
it
right
is
there.
absolute major clusterfuck. Yeah, it's just the only place I know is worse than Atlanta, where I'm from. So Atlanta's worse. Yeah. So.
What else you got, Eric?
So this is my last question.
Okay.
Being that you have multiple addictions and that you are in multiple fellowships, and I can relate to the multiple addiction part very much. I guess, what does recovery mean to you?
Recovery means, first and foremost, I don't take a drink one day at a time. I don't overeat one day at a time, which means I eat 3 moderate meals a day. I don't incur any unsecured debt one day at a time. And I do my best to have good relationships with everyone one day at a time. So that means that what's best for me each day is to just do those things. And just stay focused on the day without getting bogged down, the wreckage of my past, which I do way too much, or the wreckage of my future. Because I have, every time I have set a goal and gone straight for that goal, if I have not listened to my higher power and continued toward that goal and it's the wrong way, bad stuff happens. When my higher power either slaps me upside the head, says go in a different direction, or gently nudges me in a different direction, it has always been what's really truly best for me. Okay, and that way miracles have happened in my life. They're no coincidences. It's all higher power stuff. Just guiding you along the way. And if you resist, you're gonna fuck up, and you're gonna pay for it. I have this big sign in the sky. Actions have consequences, almost always unintended. So that's what I do. One day I just say, okay, if I don't do those 4 things every day, and I move forward a little bit. When I worked for the government, I learned to call it this. It's called pushing wet noodles across the table. Okay? Because working for the government, it seems like nothing ever gets done, right? And if you're a doer like me, oh my God, So I got this image in my mind. There's wet noodles, which are each of my projects lined up across this table. So I push each noodle a little bit every day. And I don't look up. I just, one day at a time, I just keep pushing those noodles. And then every quarter, every so often, I look up, and hey, that noodle's off the table. It's done. God, my God, I did something. And the others have made progress across, so
every quarter.
So it's pushing the noodle. It's just pushing noodles and knowing if you're doing the right thing, they'll get pushed across and they'll get done. And that's how I survived. One of the ways I survived working for the government, being a workaholic and recovering addict. It's not easy. There are a lot of unrecovered addicts in the government, by the way. Of all kinds.
That would drive me crazy, nothing getting done. Oh my God.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Pushing wet noodles. I like that.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah.
Well, okay. That was great. So we'll...
Yeah, now we're going to give you the opportunity to plug your book.
Okay,
go ahead.
Books. 2 things. One, based of Kilimanjaro. I've got a book called Taking the 12 Steps Up and Down Kilimanjaro that I published. And it's the entire story, one day at a time, how I got up the mountain, learned my lessons of compassion, came down the mountain, hurt myself again, and then learned my mortality lessons on the Serengeti with being line bait. So that's out. You can get that on Amazon. I've got that website is www.recoveryfca, stands for Recovery from Cross Addiction. .com. That has all that on it. Explains all that. It's also got a blog that I do on recovery lessons. My newest project, which I hope to do for the rest of my life, since I've already got 15 plots laid out, and I just published the first book. It's called the Booper and Harry series. Booper's a dog. Harry's a 13-year-old troubled girl from a dysfunctional family. Her dad's an alcoholic, but he's in recovery, doing pretty well. Her mom's a crazed, unrecovered Al-Anon.
Nice.
And so she's a typical ACOA. Actually teen child with alcohol, typical Al-Teen without being in recovery. Got to be perfect. Everything's got to be wonderful. So the first book, called "Be Careful What You Wish For," has been published, and it is about how she rescues, as in steals from a drunken maniac, a very, very badly abused dog. So Harry and Booper are going to be together through this series. The second book is written. It's called "The Devil Wears Comfortable Shoes," and it's the follow-up to the first book about the abused dog, about the corrupt director of an animal shelter and all the terrible things that she does, and how it resolves itself. And each one of the books is going to be, it has a different major social issue theme. The third one's about immigration, but underlying it all are 12-step recovery principles.
Nice, cool.
It's not books like, I was a teenage addict and I'm recovered and I'm fine now kind of book.
Yeah.
The principles come into it through the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's booperandharry.com, and the email address for that's booperandharry@gmail.com. So everything I'm doing is in some way or the other, especially with the publications, is 12-step based, 12-step foundation, and so the Kilimanjaro is very overt. It's my story, it's my memoir, and it's all about literally taking the 12 steps up and down, and not too well by the way, but worked out. And the other one is just I hope it's pretty overt, but it's the principles of recovery are constantly in the plots, and becoming important. And this family is going to work itself through a lot of different issues and recovery problems and relapses and things like that over the episodes and over the years, as they're in the midst of all these social issue crises in their town. So it's pretty cool.
All right.
So recoveryfca.com for Kilimanjaro and booperandharry.com for that series. So
Awesome.
thanks for letting me plug my books.
Absolutely, man. All right, we'll do our little sign off here. But first of all, we'd like to thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Give us a golf clap, Eric. That's a great golf clap. It's getting better.
That's not what they did for Tiger the last weekend.
I know.
They went berserk for
Finally.
Tiger.
Yeah. Took him a decade.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, keep tuning in. Listen to us at podcastrecovery.com, all your different podcast apps. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Go check out Robert's books and websites. And everybody out there, stay safe, stay clean.